Hello and welcome to another episode of the Unwanted Opinions podcast. This is sort of, I guess if you will, an emergency type podcast for Jay and I. It's Thursday about 6 o'clock Eastern time. You know, we just didn't want to go too long without talking about this epic, historic Clippers meltdown in round 2. So we're just basically, that's all we're talking tonight, Jay and I. That's what we're going to spend a majority of the pod on. We might finish with maybe some brief NFL stuff for week 2, because we got a whole slate of games for week 2. But Jay, I'll just ask, how are you today?
Good, dude. Very, very fine. I got some shit playing in the background right now. Could you hear that?
Very, very fine.
Yeah. Could you hear the stuff going on in the background?
No. Are you still watching Office bloopers?
No, it was in my headphones. It was louder than shit.
No. That actually happened to me on the previous podcast, but I can only hear it through my portion, so that's why it happened to you through that, because the same thing happened to me like last week or something. But
yes, very, very fine.
All right, I'll take it. Enjoy those Dwight Schrute bloopers, because they're pretty good.
I've
seen basically every Office season bloopers. I know that doesn't surprise you at all. And if you know me,
not in the slightest.
You know that I am a huge Office geek. So, all right.
Putting it lightly.
But Jay, when the fuck did they play? Was it Monday night? Tuesday night. Tuesday night, man. I normally try to be, unless it comes to the Colts in football, and the majority of the time, LeBron. I am very unbiased about a lot of things. I really don't care who wins. I guess I always want to see Tom Brady lose. So there's exceptions to this rule. But for a majority of the time, I try to be very unbiased because, quite frankly, I could care less who wins. But I told you I wanted to see this Clippers team fail so badly because of all of their bullshit. And it fucking happened, and I was laughing my ass off in that fourth quarter. Really, it's kind of the end of the third when they started to really just go downhill. And then that fourth quarter, you see playoff P, way off P, as I saw him on Twitter, they were calling him, pandemic P, whatever you want to call him, hit the side of the backboard in a Game 7 in the playoffs. How does that happen? You are a max player. Kawhi scoring 2 points in the fourth quarter of a closeout game when everyone is crowning you as the best player in the league. You came out with that commercial at the very first game of the season, aired when you were playing the Lakers, with your crown on your keychain in your car, saying this is your city. The Clippers had this whole mantra, our way, LA our way. They are built, not bought, which is completely false as well. They thought that they were the less glamour of the two teams, obviously, because the Lakers are Showtime, superstars, whatever. They thought they were the team that was going to cater to the average person, I guess you will, in LA, not anybody that's known in the public eye. You had, Jay, I'll let you go in a minute, but I'm just on a rant.
Oh, you let me have my moment when Brady lost, so this is all you. Go ahead.
I'm just ranting because there's just a lot of things that fucking happened. You had, over the summer, you had Patrick Beverley show up to Summer League, go walk past LeBron, AD, Kuzma, head down, grinning, cheesing his ass off right after they got Kawhi and Paul George. He went on Woj's podcast and said it's basically over for everyone when they got Kawhi and Paul George. Patrick Beverley said this. Montrezl Harrell goes on The Jump, which is another nationally televised TV show on ESPN, and says it's over. You had all of these guys front-running the entire fucking year, man. They've done nothing. They deserved everything that they got because that was a complete and utter meltdown in round 2. And this, to me, other than Golden State blowing the 3-1 lead in the finals, this is the second worst blown series in basketball history. You can say the Clippers in 2015 or or the OKC in 20 and also in 2016 when they lost to the Warriors in the conference finals. But that team also had 3 Hall of Famers on it, and Clay, Steph, and Draymond. And Steph was coming off back-to-back MVPs. But this Denver team, and I don't really want to take anything away from them because they played great, and they really did. And they exposed a lot of the weaknesses that the Clippers had. But the Clippers were just flat out. The Nuggets had more heart. The Clippers just thought it was going to come easy to them. And man, there was writing on the wall all year long. But you had people on ESPN. I won't even name off the major sport networks because it's everybody. They said that the Clippers were just going to just be able to walk through the regular season. Who cares? Whatever. Kawhi did it last year with Toronto. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. And then you also had Max Kellerman on ESPN First Take claim that Kawhi was better than Kobe Bryant, the late, great Kobe Bryant. This is the guy that's supposed to be better than him. There's no fucking way in hell that he should be in the same sentence as Kobe, LeBron, even Kevin Durant, a guy who's still playing. Kawhi is nowhere near KD, even, in my opinion. So, man, I loved it. I loved every minute of the collapse. It was funny as hell, and it ended really, really bad for him.
The only thing I do feel somewhat bad is all the hate that Kawhi is getting, which justifiably so. I mean, the dude straight folded in this finals, or I guess.
Did you see some of the numbers he had?
Yeah, but hold on, just to make my point, I feel bad because he doesn't talk. Like, all his teammates around him got everybody, including you, to just want them to lose so bad.
He chose to go there, man. He knew these guys before he got there. He chose that team.
I know. I'm not saying that it's not just – I said the only reason I feel a little bad is because he's taken basically all the blame. And you just came on here and talked about Montrez and Patrick Beverly and throwing hate on them, which they deserve. But most of the national media is only clowning on Kawhi, a little bit of Paul George. So, yes, he had.
And another thing for Paul George, I didn't even mention this in my rant. After the game, you saw his comments where he said, "We didn't view this as championship or bust." When he said that,
yes,
in his interview,
and they had some chemistry issues.
In the beginning of the season, when they were doing their introductory press conference, he said, "We've got 2 guys that can get you any shot at any time," talking about himself and Kawhi, "and they can stop anybody in the league on the perimeter." He said these things. He said, "How are you going to beat that?" He also said in an interview a couple months later where he said, "When we got here, we immediately expect to win it all." These are the things I'm talking about, Jay. This is what just drives me nuts about Paul George. I told you he just lies all the time.
Jamal Murray said, "Hold my beer."
Yes,
watch this.
He did.
You can defend anybody on the perimeter.
Yeah,
watch this,
man. So it's just, I loved every bit of it. I don't feel bad for Kawhi at all because I just talked about that commercial he put out, all the stuff that he was doing. He was taking shots at LeBron. He just wasn't saying anything. He did them. He tried to be subliminal about them. He also was held, I guess, basically a lot of teams hostage because his own fucking team he held hostage in the Clippers. I don't feel bad for him because he demanded that. He said, "I'm not coming here to the Clippers unless you give up 5 first-round picks for Paul George, SGA, who's going to become an all-star, in my opinion, in OKC, and he probably would have in LA playing with Kawhi, which probably would have ended up being better, and Danilo Gallinari, who is a fringe all-star player, averaged like almost 20 points this year." So, no, there's no remorse towards Kawhi at all. And if any other superstar played like this, they'd get just killed just as much as he did. And Jay Williams and a few other guys were like, we have to hold him to the exact same standard that we would hold LeBron for. LeBron's had this pressure on him for 15 years. This is the first year Kawhi has been expected to win, and he failed.
I hear you. I mean, let's not get it twisted. It's not like I'm over here losing sleep.
I know you're not defending him at all. You just said you were trying to put a little bit of ray of hope on his side, and I'm just not going to allow it, Jay.
Go ahead, man. Go off with it. I ain't mad at you for it.
They had a 16-point lead in Game 5, and all in the second half. A 19-point lead in Game 6, and they were up 12 in the second quarter in Game 7, and as much as up 7 midway through the third quarter. in also in Game 7, and they just absolutely like
Folded like a
shit the
wet
bed.
napkin.
Yes, like it was a complete and utter collapse.
Now there's all this stuff coming out about Montrezl Harrell and PG getting into it on the side.
Yep.
And my question to you is, do you think this is only the beginning of what's about to come out of that room and just flat out fall apart?
I mean, yeah, for sure.
Think
I
they
mean, you
come back
saw.
strong next year?
So, do you remember? I don't know if you'll remember this, Jay. On January 4th, the Clippers had got blown out by the Grizzlies, and Montrezl Harrell, after the game, publicly called out the team and said, "It's not the same guys as last year. We don't play as hard all the time. There's guys missing practices. There's guys missing games." He came out publicly and said all of this shit in January, and we came on here and talked about it. And what everybody likes to do is they thought Kawhi was not going to bring any drama. He never had any drama with him at all. It rubbed the people the wrong way inside his own team, missing all this time, and you saw it. Now you see that they didn't have a lot of this time to play together. They didn't take the regular season at all serious. They barely practiced together. That's all their fault. It was already rubbing people the wrong way 8 months ago. So yes, it's going to continue. And on Montrezl Harrell's point, this dude lost a lot of money. He is a free agent, and he's probably going to be asking for max money. I'm sure there's a bad team that's going to give it to him, but the Clippers are going to try to keep him. I just don't know if the Clippers are going to be a team that offers him max money because he got absolutely destroyed by Jokic in this series.
You think he's going to get max money?
Maybe the Knicks, man. I mean, a bad organization like the Knicks or the Hornets or the Bulls. I think somebody is going to offer him close to max. I really do.
I sure hope not. He's not that type of player.
Like I said, I don't think the Clippers will offer him the max based off of this performance in the postseason because he was bad. He wasn't even good in the first round against Dallas. And I understand he did have the passing of his grandma, so he was out of the bubble. And you heard Doc Rivers say he couldn't have guys in Game 7 play more than spurts of 3 minutes. I mean, you had 5 months off. And Lou Williams doing the whole strip club bonanza. I mean, that's his own damn fault if he was out of shape. That's his own damn fault. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard having 5 months off. They have absolutely no excuses not to be in shape because Paul George said right before the bubble, this is the healthiest he's been in forever because he had those 2 off-season shoulder surgeries and he was working himself back into shape and in game shape and whatever it was through the middle of the year. He goes right before the bubble. That's the healthiest he's been in forever. So what the shit? Where'd he go?
They folded. I mean, it wasn't even to blow a 3-1 lead to a team that no one expected. Well, I guess there's a couple people. I mean, even me and you who wanted to see the Clippers lose so bad, both said the Clippers were still going to close out.
I'm still honestly kind of shocked that it happened.
Same. I mean, they go. I mean, they're. If you want to just go by halves, they were up 2 on the Nuggets going into halftime.
I think they led in halftime every game except for one.
And then they just came out in a Game 7 where everything's on the line. This is your entire season. You get to go next round, play the Lakers, who you've been boasting about that they can't hold your jockstrap, and this is your title to lose. All you have to do is play the next half, and you combine for 33 points in the second half.
It took them until around the 7. They didn't even get a basket in the fourth quarter until 7 minutes into the game, until that quarter.
They couldn't buy a basket. I mean, they had open shots. They just flat out
and they were missing layups. They were missing floaters. Mr. Robot Cyborg Kawhi Leonard was missing his runners that he normally makes in the mid-range. Jokic was – did you see that pass Jokic had behind his head to Murray at the end of the game? He was fucking toying with them.
Free throw line and just – I mean, that's the thing that's not being talked about enough. What Jokic did during this series.
Unreal. Absolutely unreal. Like I said, all seriousness, the Nuggets do deserve a ton of credit for what they did because nobody believed in them. I don't even know if their own ownership and fans believed that they would beat the Clippers because I've always thought that it was the 2 LA teams were the best in the West. The Lakers I always thought were the best team, but I thought that the Nuggets were going to get absolutely just manhandled in this series, and it looked like that through 4.5 games until the end of Game 5 when the Nuggets came back. But then you're like, okay, game 6, Clippers learn their lesson. They're not going to do this again. Happens again. Then you're like, there's no way the Nuggets can come back down from 3-1 in 2 different series against the vaunted Clippers team and whatever. It's just they were good and they had a really good game plan for to play against these Clippers.
Yeah, they did. And Jamal Murray stepped up. Let me ask you this. What do you think is more impressive? The Nuggets come 3-1 comeback win over the Clippers to go to the Western Conference Finals, or the Heat being in the Eastern Conference Finals up 1 game on Boston?
Oh, it's for sure the Nuggets. The Nuggets over
You
the
think
Clippers.
so? I mean, the
Yeah.
Nuggets were preseason, I think people had them as like, toss up a third or fourth best team in the West.
Yeah, I mean, I know, but I didn't believe in them. Again, I know that the Heat, I thought they would finish around 6 or 7. I know they finished 5th, but I mean, I'd still go Clippers. Though I'll still go the Nuggets coming back from 3-1 against this Clippers team because
There's no
again,
wrong answer. They're both impressive as fuck.
as much as I dislike the Clippers, they still are good, and they're a very, very good team. It's just I never thought they were as good as the Lakers. So that's the only thing I always have for all year. I've stood by this stance. Even when the Lakers struggled a little bit in the bubble, I was still very confident that they would figure it out because they have LeBron. And again, I'll say it. I like to say it all the time because when the chips are fairly even and the deck isn't stacked against LeBron, he usually wins because 2012 that was the case. Other than 2011, that's the biggest mark against his career. Always will be. People will hang that over him forever. No matter how many championships he wins or MVPs or anything, they will always bring up 2011 because they think it's funny. And just like against the Warriors, they bring up the 3-1 in 2016. It's just going to happen because there's trolls and whatever. And again, 2014, Bosch and Wade didn't even combine to average 30 points in that series against the Spurs. 2015, Kyrie and K Love go down. He takes the Warriors to 6. 2016 beats the Warriors. 2017, 2018, KD joins the Warriors. They're probably the greatest team of all time. 2018, he doesn't even have another All-Star on his roster. Still carries them. And then in 2019, he's hurt. So you just look at all of those things. Like I said, when they're fairly even and he has another all-star teammate with him, all-NBA guy, he's probably going to win the title.
So I'm just assuming you haven't wavered. You're still on the Lakers.
No, and I think this, and I'm not going to count the Nuggets out. I think they'll get, I mean, I want to say Lakers in 5, but I'll go Lakers in 6 because of the respect that I have for what Denver's been able to do. But in the regular season, the Lakers were 3-1 against the Nuggets in the regular season. They won twice in Denver, and they actually played Jokic almost better than any team in the league this year. I think he only averaged 16 points against them because they've got 3 different guys who can match up with him. And the Clippers, Zubac was the only guy who could match up with him. And when you get him in foul trouble, you had nobody else because Harold just was a total mismatch. But like I said, you got Dwight, JaVale, and AD who you can throw at Jokic. And the Nuggets have no answer for LeBron. And the way that they play defense, they smother you. And their guys have been hitting shots the past 2 series since the first game or 2 of that Portland series. Their role players have been making clutch shots. So, I mean, yeah, I'm going with the Lakers. I mean, there's just I'm not picking
for a lot
against
of the
LeBron.
same reasons you just named. I've changed my mind from 5. I'm going to say the Lakers sweep them.
Really?
And I actually like the Nuggets. I think it's awesome what they just did to the Clippers. But I actually think of the first 2 opponents, I guess of all 3 opponents the Lakers will have faced, including the Nuggets in this postseason, I think the Nuggets are the best matchup for the Lakers. They have an answer for everything the Nuggets want to do offensively, and I don't believe the Nuggets defensively have anyone that can stop LeBron.
And like you said, the Clippers just missed a lot of open shots. They missed a lot of shots. They missed a lot of point-blank range. It wasn't just that the Nuggets were smothering them defensively. They were playing well, better than they had in the regular season and in those first 4 games against Utah. But still, the Clippers had their looks. They just weren't hitting them.
Yeah, I think you see a little more minutes out of JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard in
And
the series.
also, when I've been saying this since March too about the Clippers offense. They had nobody who really could dictate the offense and control the ball very well and play make a lot. The Lakers have arguably the best person that's ever done that in this league, and LeBron, where you saw the Nuggets would try and double Kawhi, and he just couldn't make that second or third pass to get to an open guy because he just doesn't see the floor like LeBron. And that's not really directly a shot at Kawhi. That's just a praise to how good LeBron is because he's able to see all of that. And the Nuggets were just scrambling a lot of the time. So that's another thing I think that the Lakers will be able to take huge advantage of.
Yeah, and then when he comes out of the game, you got another very high IQ point guard that can run the show in Rondo.
Very good point there. You know what, Jay? This is something that's just kind of like fascinating, and I know you'll appreciate this because you love Kobe. In the 2009 playoffs, I don't know if you've seen this on Twitter. It's been circulating on Twitter and Facebook. In the 2009 playoffs, the Lakers beat the Rockets in the second round, beat the Nuggets in the conference finals, and then he won his fourth ring in Orlando. In the 2020 playoffs, the Lakers beat the Rockets in the second round. They're facing the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, and he will be trying to win his fourth ring in Orlando. That's
pretty nuts. That's pretty cool.
That it is really cool. It's just how coincidental
ironic
is that? And that happens. Just so happens to the year that Kobe fatally, tragically passes away. Like, how special would that be?
That'd be a pretty cool moment
for that to happen. That's like kind of eerie shit, man.
Hey, that's destiny.
It might be. It may be. And then maybe the Lakers have a guardian angel over them right now. They really do. But that's just pretty cool. I wanted to share that with you.
I did not know that. That is pretty damn cool.
I saw that earlier. So, yeah. Man.
Did you get it all out?
I got a lot of it out. I got most of it out the past couple days, too, since it's...
You want to throw anybody some praise on the Nuggets? I think Mike Malone did a hell of a job.
I agree with that. Mike Malone made the right adjustments, especially offensively, because... And this is something, again, that the Clippers... Doc Rivers... I mean, you heard... I think Big Baby Davis called him one of the most overrated coaches, and he played for a lot of time. Back in 2017, he said Doc Rivers was very overrated as a coach. You saw that Doc just didn't make any adjustments how they were defending Jokic. It was Game 7 killing you, and he still was trying to double Jokic, and Jokic was just passing out of it and getting guys cuts and open shots. But yeah, give a lot of credit to Malone. Gary Harris coming back was huge for their perimeter defense. I thought he actually played really well defensively and hit a lot of good open shots against Kawhi and PG. Jamal Murray was out of his mind. He outscored Kawhi and Paul George in Game 7 alone by 16.
Yeah.
And obviously Jokic. I mean, I think an unsung hero for the Nuggets is Paul Millsap.
Because he said he hit some big-time daggers
in Game 5, when him and Marcus Morris got into it, apparently, I saw this today, Marcus Morris said, "We're about to send you guys the fuck home." And then that Game 5, Paul Millsap scored 14 points in that third quarter, brought them back, and then that was the game that turned everything. They won Game 5, then 6 and 7. So I think Paul Millsap is an unsung hero for the Nuggets for this series. So props to them.
Yep, I just wanted to give them a little bit of a shout out because everybody's making it about the Clippers, and I don't feel like the Nuggets are getting the love they deserve.
No, not by a lot of people. It's basically just how the Clippers collapsed, and really that's kind of what it boils down to. The majority of it, I truly believe that. But again, I think you saw a little bit of that writing on the wall the entire year. It's just nobody wanted to believe it.
Nope.
So
nobody.
Yeah.
You saw how good their depth was too there at the end.
The Nuggets?
The Clippers that everybody was raving about all year.
Yes, Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris and
Shamet.
Yeah, just completely overrated just because they were going to the presumed title team. So, all right.
You want to run down some quick thoughts on the NFL?
I just wanted to hear your quick thoughts on Game 1 of Boston and Miami, just real quick.
First of all, I don't know how Adebayo's wrist didn't snap in half off of that.
That was one of the single greatest blocks I've ever seen in my lifetime.
I'm just sitting there watching, and they show that replay, and it's like, how can somebody? I don't know if he's doing wrist curls every day or
It's
what,
got to
but
be.
for a an NBA athlete, and on top of that, I would consider Jason Tatum one of the the higher up athletes in the NBA. For him to have a driving start, cock all the way back,
Yeah.
and have all his momentum going forward to dunk that ball, and Adebayo just be standing there, go straight up, and let his wrist bend that way, and still be able to reject the ball basically with nothing but wrist and hand strength. I thought that even though it wasn't some way into that block, especially with everything on the line up at what could have. I mean, it's the Eastern Conference Finals, and for him to do that, I just thought that was an unbelievable play,
It
an
was.
unbelievable block.
It was. Yeah, I mean, Miami just absolute the heart. I mean, I think what they were down like 15, like two different times, or they were down double digits in the first quarter and in the third quarter. Just the resilience of that team, and I mean, I told you this. You weren't watching a majority of that fourth quarter. I think you turned it on towards the end, like right before they went into overtime. But I was telling you how bad some of the shots Jason Tatum was taking at the end of the game. And you were like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad were they? And I was like, two of them were eights because
Yeah,
it was the classic Jason Tatum, like he does. He likes to do that step back three, doesn't want to attack the rim a lot of the times, and he just gets into that little funk where he wants to make that play that just, I don't know, really ascends him to be one of the best players in the league, or what it is. It's like false confidence that he has in himself sometimes that drives me absolutely nuts about watching this guy. But he, down the stretch, I think he cost Boston the game because of how bad he was offensively, because they were just looking to him, and he would just dribble out the shot clock and just take a really bad shot. And Jimmy Butler, on the other hand, goes right at him and one basically to seal the game, hits that big three right before overtime to get them there. And then the horrible flop by Marcus Smart to get them that point right before regulation was just really bad. But you and I said right before we previewed the series, I think all these games are going to be extremely close. I think a lot of them are going to be just like how game one was. They're going to go down to the wire. Not saying they're all going to go to overtime, but they are all, I think, going to be very good games because they're so well coached. They're both really good defensively, and they've just got some tough ass dudes on their team. Both of these guys do.
they really do. And yeah, I'm sticking to it that I think every game's going to be close like that one was. I'm not ready to give up my Celtics pick just
I'm
yet.
not
I
either.
still think the Celtics will take it in 7, but
This could be a game that comes back and haunts them though, because they almost they you could say they were up 5, I think, in overtime, and then Tyler Hero hits that like fuck you shot.
oh yeah,
Just pulls up from 3. It really wasn't even that good of a shot, but he drains it, and then you're like, okay, Miami's still not out of this, and that's how they, like I said, that's why Jimmy Butler just absolutely loves this team, because they have a roster full of those guys who just aren't afraid of the moment. Because you see it sometimes, and I think you saw it a lot with the Clippers, how nobody wanted the ball in the fourth quarter. They were all like, okay, you take it, you take it, you take it. I don't want it right now. I'm afraid of the moment. Miami has like no guys on their team who are afraid to take the last shot or do something with the ball at
and
the
it
end of the
doesn't
game.
matter what they've done in this league or not. Like Tyler Hero,
He's a
dude,
rookie.
yeah, and he just shoots like it. He believes every shot is going in.
Yes.
Jimmy Butler ain't scared to take no
Nope.
shot. He'll go up on anybody. He'll shoot at any time. Adebayo playing probably with the most confidence of anybody on that team right now. So it's just Jay Crowder hit big shots. Jay Crowder's not scared of the moment. So you're absolutely right. It does not matter who's taking the shot because one, they can all shoot, and two, it literally looks like nobody's afraid
Yeah.
of any moment. No moment's too big. And a lot of props go to Jimmy Butler because I feel like him along with Coach Spoelstra got those guys to believe that. If Jimmy Butler wasn't there, I don't think Hero would have nearly as much confidence as he does right now.
I agree with that. And they're just all of them. I mean, they're so smart. The basketball IQ that this team has is just unreal as well. That's something that now late in games, late in the postseason, that's really valuable to have is a guy with the ball who just knows what's going on. Because you still have some guys in this league who are uber talented, but just are like, well, shit, I just try and get by on talent. I don't really know what the hell's going on out there. So I think that really benefits the team. And same with the Celtics. I mean, you got Brad Stevens and you got Kemba, Tatum, Brown. Marcus Smart is playing his ass off. Probably the best basketball of his career
He
right
came out of
now.
the gate so hot in game
Yes,
one.
he did. Yeah, cooled off a little bit, but that's kind of what you get from Marcus Smart, really. But defensively, he's always going to be a guy who you want to go to battle with on your team. He's a pest if you play against him, but he's a guy you always love to have on your team. So I think that round is going to be extremely exciting.
It very well should be. We did predict that, just saying.
We did. Yes, we did. All right, Jay, let's just give me some things. Actually, I want to hear who you're picking tonight, Bengals, Browns.
I'm picking the Browns tonight. I
I'm
believe
going
they
Bengals, man.
a bounce back game. They just got throttled by Baltimore week one. They're coming home. I think their roster is just better than Cincinnati's. I do like Joe Burrow a lot, but they're still a young team trying to figure out themselves this year. So I will take Cleveland in a bounce back game, and I actually think they win by over a touchdown.
All right, I'm taking the Bengals, man. I think Joe Burrow gets his first win. I like I said, I do think the Browns are more talented, but I just don't think there's something not right there, man. It's the Browns. I don't know. This is just as a spot for them, I think, to lose, and then there's going to be a lot of questions about Baker.
I just think they do a lot of running the ball this game. I don't think Cincinnati's run defense is that great, I think they control the ground a little bit.
I think the Chargers kind of ran them all over them. But
quick thoughts about I can't give you my winners on the next ones because
you don't have to give me your winners at all.
But I got
just
to
want to
tell
know
the people why, because we're in a pick'em league and I can't give you this great advice on
don't give them
how to win.
Just what are some things you're expecting to see? Maybe not more so of individual games. If you've got some individual games, go for it. But what are you expecting to see from week 2 opposed to week 1?
I expect Aaron Rodgers to cool down a hair. I don't think Green Bay's defense or offense will be putting up 40-something points in week 2. Although I do expect them to beat Detroit. Don't get me wrong here. But I don't think you're going to see back-to-back like MVP performances out of A-Rod. And that's not really a slide on A-Rod. That's a slide on the guys around him. I don't think they're that good. And it's going to be interesting to see Jeff Okudah going up against Devontae Adams, seeing what he can do as a rookie. Let's see, just on the slate here. I don't expect Tua to play just yet in Miami, even though Fitzpatrick looked like complete ass. I think it would be the wrong move to try and start him against Buffalo, whose front would, in my opinion, destroy
maybe
him.
One of the best in the league. The Bills are, and they looked that way in week 1. I know I'm not sure if Matt Milano and Tremaine Edmonds are playing for the Bills because they both got hurt in week 1, so we'll see. But even then, the Bills' defense is still unbelievable, and the Dolphins just aren't very good.
Los Angeles at Philadelphia interests me for the fact of Philly's getting a little bit healthier every day. They looked bad against Washington. They laid an egg, so they have something to prove. And Los Angeles showed a lot of spurts in week 1 where you thought, whoa, if they could keep this up, maybe they can do something this year. And then at other times, they just looked horrible.
Their passing game still is very, very
this?
Questionable, the Rams is.
So I don't know how that outcome's going to be, but I think that's going to be an interesting game and tell you a lot about both teams going forward.
Agreed, because you see Lane Johnson, Miles Sanders, both probably coming back for Philly this week, so that'll be a huge boost offensively. They just got to get the ball out quicker. Carson Wentz just let it fly, man. And
you got guys that you can do it with.
Yeah,
I mean,
Jalen
you got
Reagor,
2 tight ends, you can get the ball
Miles
out of your hands
Sanders,
fast.
the 2 tight ends, Deshaun Jackson.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it could happen. Denver at Pittsburgh.
We both agree on this theory. Give them our theory about the Buccaneers this week, Jay.
Oh my God! So my theory, along with Nick's theory, is we were
already
texting
about this earlier today,
and it's great minds think alike because I had been driving in the truck just thinking about this, and then literally 10 or 15 minutes later, Nick texted me my exact thoughts, and it's this. Tom Brady looked like shit in week 1. You heard my rant. If you didn't hear my rant about it, go check out the last podcast. But
I'll post it to our Instagram and Facebook as well. I'll go get it there.
There you go. And both of our theories is week 2, he's going to be playing Carolina at home, which, if you remember right, Carolina spent all of their draft picks on defense. They have a very young, inexperienced team. They lost their head coach, Ron Rivera, who's one of the better ones, clearly, who just went to Washington and beat the Eagles week 1. They lost their all-pro middle linebacker, Luke Kuechly, last year. They lost their MVP quarterback, Cam Newton. They're basically restarting with a young team, brand new offense, first-time head coach, first-time offensive coordinator. All the excuses that Brady got last week, you can use the same ones for Carolina in this matchup. But Brady's going to have a good game. I mean, Carolina's not good. A lot of people before they went and got Bridgewater believed they were tanking for Trevor Lawrence. So their roster's just not that good just yet. So I do believe Tampa Bay will play a little bit better next week. Brady will probably throw for 300 yards on a bad defense, and they'll probably win by 10, 14 points against a team that they should beat that bad. And all will be forgotten. Everybody's going to pat themselves on the back. I told you it would take so long. Tom Brady didn't have an offseason. It would take him so long to get right with this team and get all this chemistry. And that's the reason why he played like ass in the first week. But magically, it only took him 7 more days, and then he's got all the chemistry in the world that he needed. That's all it took was those extra 7 days.
I can see the headlines now. Man, I just see them. I know how this fucking game works. It's happened for 20 years with this dude. It's exactly what's going to happen, and it makes me sick.
Now, if Carolina comes out and wins, I don't know what the narrative is going to be.
That's also very true.
What will they say? Because at that point, what can you say? Because last week it was because the Saints' defense is just so solid, and Sean Payton and Drew Brees have been together for so many years, and they didn't need that offseason. So what's going to be the narrative I don't believe it's going to happen. I do believe Tampa Bay takes care of business and wins kind of easily. But if Carolina does pull out a win, what card can you play at that point?
Maybe the Buccaneers go to Josh Rosen.
Yeah, whatever. He was in the stands last week.
But just to think about the quarterbacks that Bruce Arians has worked with in his career: Peyton Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Andrew Luck, Tom Brady, Carson Palmer. That's a pretty good fucking quarterback room right there.
Yeah, it really is.
That's unbelievable, really.
I
fully expect the 49ers to bounce back against the crappy Jets. This is a great game for the 49ers to get right back on track and look like the team they were from last year.
I'd like to see Big Ben in week 2, see if he can progress, because he had a somewhat slow start, but I thought by the end of the game he looked maybe not back to his old self, but he looks like he can make the throws.
He looked faster than Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting.
I think a very interesting game is Denver at Pittsburgh. I think that's a very interesting game because I thought Denver at times played really well against the Titans on Monday night. I think they should have won that game, but Jerry Jeudy had 2 crucial drops. Their defense looked fairly good, and I thought Drew Lock looked pretty good. It's just they had some fumbling issues, and they're still without Von Miller on defense and maybe A.J. Boye this week, but I think that's probably the best game of Sunday. I think it's Denver at Pittsburgh.
Interesting. I believe
New England
I'm
a huge fan of Drew Lock. So
yeah, but I think Denver and or New England and Seattle will be
a very good game. Sunday night, you got Cam and that Patriots offense and the defense, obviously with Belichick, and against a guy who just was called underrated by Bill Belichick today, and Russell Wilson, who, again, Jay, we don't like to toot our own horns, but we've been saying this for like 6 years about Russell Wilson, and people are just finally now starting to realize this guy's been doing this for this long. It's just nobody cared or just was always trying to make up excuses for why he was playing so well. But on the other,
Marshawn, then he had the Legion of Boom.
Yeah,
then he had nobody and still took him to 10 or 11 wins.
Yeah, and now they finally actually have a decent set of weapons on offense with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett look pretty good, and Chris Carson looks fine after that fractured hip. So we'll see.
All it took was him to get a few weapons, and me and you automatically pencil him into the Super Bowl.
Offensive fucking coordinator, let it fly.
Yep.
You got one of the best quarterbacks, I'll even say ever, because I think when he's all said and done.
I told someone the other day, I think he's already a top 5 quarterback of all time.
I think when we did quarterback rankings like a year and a half ago, Jay, you already had him in your top 10. And I think I had him at 11 or 12 because he's already.
I think I had him at like 6 or 7.
You may have had him in further in the top 10, but I'm just saying you had him at least out of your top 10 greatest quarterbacks ever. This dude, the trajectory of his career, It's very possible he could be a top 5 quarterback of all time. It really is. He's that good and that special of a player.
And you just heard Bill Belichick, and granted, Tom Brady is 43, but Belichick, who coached the supposed GOAT for 20 years, and he's seen Peyton, he's seen all these guys, and granted, Peyton's not playing right now, but his quote was, "I don't know of a better player in the league right now."
Yeah, which is
And
insane.
I fully
He did
agree.
always say that Peyton was the hardest person he ever had to prepare for. So he did give props to Peyton, but it's rare that he does it to players like to your point, Jay.
What do you think happens? Outcome of Baltimore at Houston?
I think the Ravens wipe the floor with the Texans. I think the Texans
I
fucking
kind of
suck.
do too.
I think they're soft. They're going to get run all over. You saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire have a career day, his very first game of his career against this Texans defense. They can't stop the run, and that's exactly what
What
the
Baltimore's
Ravens
going
want
to do?
to do. So I think the Ravens just kill them. I really do.
Here's an interesting matchup. Very fun to watch. Washington's front seven, quick game back with Kyler on the ball.
Yeah, we'll see. I know they've got a lot of guys that can contain and run after him. So, yeah, I'm excited for that
I
one.
think Kansas City kills the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers just aren't very good. And that's another thing. That's when are they going to release Herbert? Because you see I don't know if they want to do it yet because it's a building year for the Chargers and whatever, but you know your ceiling with Tyrod Taylor. There is nothing else that he's going to do in his career to me that's going to say we can legit win for many years with this guy. But Herbert's your future, so when do they just release him? I think that's the biggest thing to watch with the Chargers for this year.
I can get behind that. And last game, Monday night matchup, New Orleans at Las Vegas. I actually think that's going to be a somewhat close game.
I do too, because the Raiders can score.
They can.
Their offense looked pretty. I know it was against Carolina. Their defense sucks, but
and the Saints lost Michael Thomas.
That's true. But I think it's going to be fairly close.
I do too.
It's in the new stadium, right?
Well, yeah, I think it might be. And let me just tell you this: I would not be surprised if the Raiders won.
Okay, I don't think the Saints looked very good in Week 1. They had a lot of shit to
Their
work on.
offense did not. Their defense.
Their
looked
defense,
awesome.
yes, their defense will probably keep them in a lot of games. But offensively, yeah, they got some shit to do. I just think they need to work in Kamara a little bit more. I don't think they used him enough in Week 1.
Yeah, they just could not get in a rhythm.
No, they couldn't, and that may happen, but who knows? We could see him
And
put up
Todd Bowles is a
45
hell of a
points.
defensive coach.
What? Say that again?
I said Todd Bowles is a hell of a defensive coach. I'm sure he had some game plans in there.
Yeah.
That he had been coming up with all off season. So.
And the Raiders really aren't that good defensively. That's definitely the weakest part of their team. So,
yeah,
we'll
but
see.
that's the thing that helps them. The weakest part of their teams are secondary, and the Saints are down their best receiver,
and
maybe a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL, and Drew Brees' #1 target. So
true.
that helps the Raiders.
Very
no
true.
doubt about it.
And like you said, I mean, if they're going to double Michael Thomas, that just leaves a lot of single coverage for Sanders and Kamara and Cook in the passing game. So, yeah, his presence is definitely going to be felt. The lack of his presence is going to be felt.
Closing thoughts. What do you think about the Big Ten coming back?
I'm excited. I think
very excited.
I know we talked about it a lot. I thought they kind of looked stupid by. I mean, I get it, the safety precautions, whatever. I just thought
it was so premature.
It was a very rash decision that they made. But I know you, as a huge Ohio State fan, I just love watching football. So I mean, any football you can get, whether it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday night, whatever. Because once the NBA's over, I'm gonna need more days to fill the week with watching football. So Big Ten coming back, couldn't be more excited.
Did you see the way they're doing their championship games or whatever?
No, I actually didn't read much into how their schedule is or what.
Don't quote me on this, but I believe I'm correct, and I read it right, where they're doing like a showdown, which they're going to play their 8 games, and their championship week is going to be the East versus the West in the Big Ten. The top seed in the East plays the top seed in the West. Second seed plays the second seed. Third seed plays the third seed. So that's interesting. I've never seen them do that before. I think it's pretty cool. So instead of, usually you got your Big Ten championship where, the two best teams play each other, but then the other teams are, just going to different bowls here and there. Whereas everybody's playing week that ninth week, and it's 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, trying to see who's the better East or West side of the
I like
Big
that,
Ten.
actually.
It is. It's pretty cool.
Maybe this premature little shutdown they had will maybe throw new wrinkles into what they do in the future. Who knows?
Yeah.
You could see it happen. But
So I was very happy to see the Big Ten come back.
yeah, I am too. And you have more of a rooting interest in the Big Ten than I do, but it's football.
And the Pac-12 is going to get – this is going to hurt their recruiting so bad, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's going to be held against them forever. Their coaches didn't fight for them. The presidents didn't fight. Why? If I'm Alabama recruiting someone from Seattle, I'm like, hey, why would you want to go play for them? They didn't even play last year. Who knows what their coaches are doing in their off time? They weren't out there supporting like the Big Ten, and the SEC was supporting them. Come play for us. We're here for you. We're here for the kids. Saban was out doing marches. Fucking – why am I blanking on his name? Jim, the fucking Michigan coach. Harbaugh. Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's out there in front of the campus doing all his stuff with his players. So, like, all these coaches that are now playing and now, they publicly fought for their players and their programs and had a vested interest in their schools. How can you not throw that in the face of the Pac-12?
Yeah.
I just think it's going to hurt recruiting for them big time.
It might. I mean, I don't know. Maybe people forget about it in 40 years. But, I mean, I think in the near future, you're probably right. But, again, it's weird circumstances, so who knows exactly what is to come. But, yeah, just happy to see that it was back. October 24th is the start date. Am I correct?
I think so.
I think that was
23rd
the day I
or 24th. I forget.
Yeah, but just excited.
You want to get out of here on that? I did
let's
not
get outta
expect
here.
it to go 45 minutes.
Yeah. As always, subscribe, rate, review. You guys know the drill. You know where to find us. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You know where to YouTube. Unwanted Opinions Podcast at gmail.com. All of that. Follow. Questions, comments, whatever. We're here. Until next time, Jay.
I was going to see if you were going to jump on it first. Until next time.